Hello fellow humans and welcome to the Face-Off, where we take two tanks that are somewhat similar and compare them and find out which one is better, to go all the way back to the roots of this channel, really, as you can see right there. So what we're gonna do, we'll start off obviously with the E100 and the mouse. Now, I don't like these tanks, however, that's the one we started with the last series, so 5 years later, here we are with this. And first of all, let's have a look at the stats, let's have a look at the armor in these vehicles, then let's play them and let's find out which of those two is the better one. Now what we can immediately see is that the E100 has the better gun. Not only does it have higher DPM, higher penetration, and higher alpha damage, it also has heat rounds, which has better premium penetration, so E100 wins the gun round, clearly. Accuracy and dispersion are essentially the same. The mouse has 1 more degree of gun depression here, but the dispersion and the aim time are not good on both of them. Now, the E100 also wins the round of mobility, essentially. It has a higher top speed. However, in terms of the effective power to weight ratio, they're essentially the same as well. However, slight improvement here in effective force power to weight ratio and traverse speed as well. Now, so far, E100 is clearly looking like the better vehicle. Now, what is the mouse got to do with this? What is the mouse's advantage? Well, the credit coefficient is slightly higher, which means you won't lose as much credits at tier 10, which is cool. You have higher hit points, and you have insane armor all around. That is where the mouse wins. Now, you need to angle both of them. So let's find out how to do that. And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe. Now, with the E100, angling this vehicle is very simple. Gun, track, boom, angled. And then you wiggle back and forth. If you put the gun over the track right here, and you wiggle back and forth, you pretty much have the best chance at getting shots bounced. Now, obviously, if you can't do that, wiggling the turret back and forth can definitely help. It would be lovely to have this kind of traverse speed, wouldn't it? Now, obviously, the side armor is still very strong at 150 millimeters. It has these skirts here, so never fire a heat or HE at the side of this vehicle, obviously. That is a bad idea. The track wheels are very weak, very penetrable though, so if you can fire under the skirt, you can have a very, very easy penetration right here, and you can track the vehicle at the same time as well. Lower plate is a weak spot like any tank, but 240mm is still quite strong, so tier 9s are going to have a hard time. Upper plate, forget it unless you're firing down on it. You got this plate here, which is 200mm, but obviously, again, unless you're firing down on it, you're not going to be able to actually hit it. Now, the turret has 2 weak spots now. That is this beam down here, essentially the turret ring, where you can pin it with premium ammo, and you can also have this one up here. That is only 200mm that you can pin with pretty much any tank. But it is going to be very, very difficult to hit up here. The rest of the turret, 310mm. Obviously, if you angle it to the side like that, you can get 320, 330. Exactly. Track wheel, you're at 340. Which means a lot of heat rounds at tier 10 are not going to go through anymore, even if a tier 10 medium tank is using calibrated. So, armor on this thing is very strong, but it does have a couple of weak spots in it. And here comes the fat boy, the mouse. Now, the lower plate on this thing is a lot smaller, and it's also thicker. So you have 260mm down here, so some standard rounds aren't even going to be able to pen the lower plate on this thing, which is quite a lot. And at 300mm on the upper plate, however, again, if you shoot down on it, it becomes weaker, because obviously angled armor is less effective when it's not angled anymore. I think that's obvious. So, very strong armor here. Now, obviously, this is a weak spot in the middle here. Again, if you do the same angling, you get the turret armor higher. However, you will still be able to be penned here. So try to move this thing back and forth, because this area right here, if someone hits it with premium ammo, it is pretty much guaranteed to go through. So that's definitely not great. Side is 185mm, very thick. You have this skirt down here as well. Now, you gotta watch out, obviously, side very thick, stays very thick for a very long time. Only really flat is where you can pen it with anything. So this is a lot of side armor here as well. Same with the turret. Look at that, 700, 600. Even at an angle like this, it's still 350. So the armor on this vehicle is very, very strong. So if you angle a turret like this, you're still probably going to have a hard time for the enemy to actually pin it. So the mouse's strength, essentially, the weak spots are smaller than the E100s, and the side armor is absolutely bonkers insane. So another thing that we have to look at is the lines of this vehicle, and ideally they're both in the same nation, obviously. Now, which of these two tank lines is the better one? And there is a clear winner here, and that is the E100's line. The Tiger is better than the Tiger P. The Tiger 2 is better than the VK100, and the E75 is better than the Moiskin. So that's a very easy choice right there even. If these are very, very slow, fuck off with your tank ranks. And these are very, very slow, not very enjoyable in my eyes. However, these are one of the better beginner lines as well, and they're very, very nice to play, even for a guy that doesn't enjoy slow tanks much. Which one's better? Well, I already answered that question. That's the E100. Here we go with the Mouse, which is one of the slowest tier 10s in the game, which is not great, obviously. The problem with this vehicle is, by the time you arrive, either the enemy team is dead or your team is dead, which is obviously very unfortunate a lot of times. Now, what you don't want to do is you never want to go up there in a heavy tank, because that's a pretty bad idea. You're going to get shot all the way up, especially if it's a slow heavy tank. In a 50B, you can try, but still wouldn't. So now what we're going to do here is we're going to take the middle right here. It's very easy to take. No one's going to contest. Most of the time, no one's going to contest it, because they don't have the initiative. Because initiative is something that you'll need with a vehicle like this, right? If you just sit in the corner and do nothing, then nothing indeed is what is going to happen. Now, I recommend using calibrated on the Mouse and the E100, because given the DPM is so absolutely abhorrently low, that you're not going to get much out of it with a gun rammer anyway, and you might want to rather make sure to penetrate all your shots, especially because this is a tank that is made for close-up fighting. Like, close range, fight other heavy tanks, and take damage and take shots. So you ideally want to have the penetration. The downside of the Mouse here is obviously that it only has APCR, which means that the boost is only going to be 5%, whereas the E100 gets 10%, and it gets about 370 millimeters of heat penetration, which is enough to go essentially through anything. So Toro is right here, and again, keep it angled. Probably not going to pen me anyway, but angle the turret to the side, and there is not much that he can do. Again, the track wheel method is the easiest to remember, the easiest to do as well. You can put it a bit over as well. That might even be a bit more effective. But track wheel method for these German heavies is pretty much the way to go. So, Torres, let's get rid of him as well. And I have not taken a single point of damage yet, which is absolutely lovely. Which is now going to change, probably. And that is a T57 heavy that is definitely very skilled at this game, as you can clearly see right there. And he's on the other side. And now, we're only 3 versus 5, which I don't even know how that happened. But I'm a full HP Mouse, and I have 3,000 damage already. And I don't want to be the one that gets primarily shot at here still. Okay, if it's he's going up the other hill. Try and track him again. That is not going to happen. I don't want to get shot necessarily, because obviously if I lose all my hit points, then I lose all my power and strength with this vehicle. Now, the 50 centimeter, he's probably going to try and peek me and have a couple of shots, so I'm not going to allow him to do that. And the Mouse really does work in a slow game like this, you know? Slow game, nothing really happens. All you got to do is poke out, take your shot, wait for the reload, and boom. And there we go. Now, obviously, the biggest disadvantage, besides the miserable mobility and miserable gun, is that the turret is at the rear of the vehicle, which is never really a great idea to have on a vehicle. Now I'm getting pushed by the 62A. Not much I can do now. Obviously, you can't really get out of situations very well, which is the downside of this. And while the 62A is probably not the best of players, given that he just rammed himself into me, it is safe to say that he is most likely not gonna have a rough time at getting rid of me. But as you can see, 4.5k damage without a team, essentially. Well, it was more than that. It was 5.5k in a tank that has 2,300 DPM. And yeah, if you have no team, the Mouse can be its own team, because it has that much armor that it's gonna take a while for the enemy to actually kill you. And here we go with the 100 for the about 12th millionth time. Let's now see whether we can have a team that doesn't die in 2 minutes, which is like how it happened the last 5 games. So, anyway, let's see if we can actually get any decent value here, rather than simply 12-year-olds that don't know that you're not supposed to peek. I'll put into a 183. So, let's see. Now, obviously, you don't want to go over there. That only dumb people do that. If you have a heavy tank like this, ideally you want to stay on this side of the city. If you have a medium tank, you go over there, obviously. So, we got on a heavy out there, E5. If you have a hull-down, focused heavy tank, then it also is going to work quite well in the field. So, I definitely recommend going there as well. Now, we have the 140, which immediately shows me that he's not that smart. That he's in the city over there. And now we have that 50 TP who is aiming at me. And the E5, yup, is also aiming at me. So now, we're gonna have a problem here. Problem is that these guys over there, those 3 guys, should definitely move and push the Yak Panzer in the E5. So I'm gonna try to support them here. I can peek the Yak Panzer if he's pulling back a meter. There we go. And they're dead over there. Which, it's not a surprise of anyone. And there we go. Got rid of the Conqueror at least. And now, gonna get rid of that E5 and Yak Panzer E100 ideally, but not gonna happen now. HE shot might be possible here if he does move again, but it's not going to be possible anyway. And they're both dead. To the surprise of absolutely no one. That's not where you go, that's where you die. So, now, 4 versus 6, which is not great, which means we're going to get rid of these 2 quickly and swiftly. Heat, through, boom, gone. Now, Yak Panzer, he's annoying. I want to annoy him. However, there are other 50 TPs right there. Grill is now dead as well, but the Object 140 Yak Panzer is turning towards me. And there's a grill as well. Now, 50 TP. Let's take a quick snapshot at him. 2.7k damage for me so far. Obviously, I don't want that Jaegeru to live for very much longer, so I would hope that the... Never mind, he's dumb. The Leopard wouldn't peek into the 50 TP, was I about to say, but he was faster. So, let's now see in a 1v5, which is a great situation to be in, right? It's very... very refreshing. Now let's block this object from getting around me. And I can take a shot at his cupola just like that. Now, ideally, I want to get away from the Jaegeru as much as possible. However, without exposing myself to the 50 TP. So I'm going to go back. Maybe I'll survive just long enough to get rid of the Object 140. But if the 50 TP high rolls, then that won't be possible. Come here. Come here. There we go. Good boy. Anyway, that's a lovely team. But anyway, I did like 4k damage. 4 point... There you go, 4.3. I'm having a great time here. As you can see, I'm clearly having an absolutely amazing time in Blitz today. And which one is better? Well, the E100 is the more noob-friendly, the easier one to play. It is the better vehicle of the 2, and it clearly wins. I'm not going to get out of here. So, anyway, have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching. See you next one. Goodbye.